Praise the Lord, Joanna. Welcome to our next Sunday School lesson, lesson 5 of our year 6. The title for the lesson is Jacob and Joseph, Divine Plan. The scripture portion to read is Genesis chapters 37 to 50. The memory verse for today is Psalms chapter 37, verses 3 to 5. In the last lesson, we learned a few major life events of the life of Jacob. We learned how he deceived his father and his brother and ran away from his parents to his mom's place. There he got married to Leah and then to Rachel. He served his father-in-law for many years and he wasn't really treated well. So he ran away from his father-in-law Laban. We also learned on the brook of Jabbok, he wrestled with the man of God, and there he repented and prayed to God, and his name was changed to Israel. He reconciled with his brother Esau as well on the way. Then he settled in a place called Shechem. In Genesis chapter 34, there explains an incident in which Jacob's only daughter Dinah, she went to see the women of Shechem, and she was ill-treated by the men of the land, and as a result, all the men of Shechem were killed by his brothers Shimon and Levi. Now let's look a little bit into the life of Joseph. Joseph was the firstborn of his dear wife Rachel. We learned that Rachel passed away after the birth of Benjamin. So Joseph was the favorite of his sons. So Jacob loved him more than all his brothers. Jacob made a special court for his son Joseph, which made all his other sons jealous. Also, Joseph saw two dreams, which made his brothers hate him even more. The dreams of Joseph are explained in Genesis chapter 37, verse 5 onwards. Joseph's brothers went to feed his father's flock to a place called Shechem. One day, Jacob called his son Joseph and asked him to go to Shechem to seek the wellness of his brethren. Joseph agreed. When he reached the place called Shechem, he realized that his brothers had already left to a place called Dothan. Joseph set off to Dothan, and his brothers saw him from afar off. They started making plans to kill him once he reaches to them. But his eldest brother Reuben wasn't happy about the plan. He said, "No, we shouldn't kill him. Instead, we will put him in a deep pit." So they cast him into the deep pit. He lay there a few hours. Then there were some Ishmaelite merchants who came around that way. So the brothers sold him to the Ishmaelite merchants for 20 shekels of silver. His brothers had kept the beautiful coat that Joseph was wearing with them. So they took the beautiful coat that Joseph was wearing, dipped it in some blood, and sent it to their father Jacob. Jacob, on seeing this, was deeply sorrowful. No one could console him. He was crying for days and months. He was extremely sad, thinking that his beloved son Joseph was dead. In the meantime, Joseph was taken to Egypt by the merchants. There he was sold to the officer of Pharaoh, and the officer's name was Potiphar. Joseph was loyal in everything that he did, and Potiphar soon found out that God was with him. So he made him in charge of everything in his household and entrusted everything with him. Now, Potiphar's wife, she had eyes on Joseph as he was young and handsome. She tried several times to get Joseph to lie down with her, thereby sinning against God by committing adultery. She then played tricks against Joseph and then complained of him to his master, and thus Joseph ended up being in prison. And God was with Joseph whatever happened, and thus Joseph found favor in the eyes of the prison keeper. He trusted Joseph with everything that was happening in the prison. He was even in charge of the other prisoners. You have already learned in the previous years how the butler and baker of Pharaoh was admitted into the prison because they did something wrong. Both of them saw dreams while they were in the prison, and for Joseph interpreted them. Just as Joseph interpreted, the butler was back in the palace in a few days. But the baker was killed. The butler had promised Joseph that he would remember Joseph and would talk of him to Pharaoh, but no, he forgot. But later, you know how Pharaoh had the dreams, and then the butler remembered of Joseph and talked about him to Pharaoh. Now Pharaoh brought him into the palace, and eventually he became the prime minister of Egypt. So Joseph became the second in rank to Pharaoh, and he was in charge of everything that was going on in the land. When you look through the life of Joseph, he was always faithful and loyal to God, and besides this, he has been through a lot of problems and troubles. But when you look through the scripture portions, you can never see him complaining, and that eventually led him to being really blessed in the end. Now let's see how Jacob was reunited with his beloved son Joseph. There was a great famine all over the world, but in Egypt, the good thing is that they had gathered all the grains, rice, corn, and everything in plenty, as they knew of the famine coming, as God had shown Pharaoh. So they had everything in plenty. They had surplus stores available. There was famine in the land of Canaan as well. So when Jacob realized that there is grain in the land of Egypt, he sent his sons to Egypt to buy grain for them. So his sons, everyone except Benjamin, went, and they appeared before Joseph because Joseph was in person distributing the grains. Joseph recognized his brothers, but his brothers didn't realize it was him. Now Joseph talked to them as if they were spies coming into the land, and he wouldn't supply grain to them first, but he agreed eventually on a condition that they would bring their youngest brother Benjamin the next time they come to visit him. And Shimeon was put in prison. The next time when they came to buy grains, they brought their youngest brother Benjamin with them. Now, on seeing Benjamin, Joseph was full of emotions, and he used certain tactics to get them to reveal them of their intentions. And eventually, he revealed that he was Joseph, and he wanted his father Jacob to come and live with him in Egypt. And he got a place ready for him and has sent chariots to bring his father and all their household to him. Jacob was 130 years old when he reached Egypt. He blessed Pharaoh, and then they got settled in the land of Goshen. Joseph was adored by his father Jacob and by his brothers. And you can see that is a fulfillment of the vision that he saw. The last years of Jacob are explained in Genesis chapter 48 and 49. When Joseph realized that his father was sick as he was really old, he brought his sons Manasseh and Ephraim to him. Jacob blessed both his sons. And also when you look in chapter 49, you can see him blessing all his sons in that chapter. When he blessed Judah, he even prophesied about Jesus being born into the tribe of Judah. Jacob died peacefully at the age of 147. Prior to his death, he expressed the wish that he wanted to be buried in the tomb at Machpelah, where his fathers were buried. So his children buried him according to his wish. Joseph dwelt in the land of Egypt, and he saw his children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren. He died at the age of 110, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. Years later, when the people of Israel were saved from Egypt under the leadership of Moses, Joseph's bones were also carried, and they were buried in Machpelah according to his wish. Now let's look how Jacob and Joseph revealed Jesus. In the vision at Bethel, Jacob saw a ladder which was put on earth, and it was reaching up to heaven. So it shows that the only way to heaven is Jesus. Then now the second point, the lower portion of the ladder touched the earth. So it is showing that Jesus, who is the Son of God, came on earth as a human being. The third point, Joseph was hated by his own brothers and they even tried to kill him. Likewise, Jesus was rejected by his own people, as we see in the books of gospel. Now the fourth point, Joseph was sold by his own brothers by 20 shekels of silver. Similarly, Jesus was also betrayed for 30 shekels of silver. Now the last point, Joseph suffered much according to the will of God and became a blessing for his brothers and his own people. Similarly, Jesus went through a lot of suffering and died on the cross of Calvary to bring eternal blessing to all those who believe in him. We quickly look through the lives of Jacob and Joseph in this lesson. When we learned about Joseph, we learned that he was always loyal and faithful to God, no matter the situation around him. And that's how he got the blessings from God. So let that be the takeaway lesson for us today. Let us learn to be faithful to God and go according to his plan, whatever happens. May God bless us.